Okay guys, so it is the next day and I'm ready to start working out all this pieces in here. As you can see, this tip is all done up. I just have to sand this down. So, I have some Magic Sculpt. The magnets are in there pretty well. If I put it on here, it falls because it's not keeping the pin there, but it's actually holding pretty well. So, you gotta kinda work it out where it'll go in and it'll stay. It's going to be kind of hard to do it on the camera, but what I do is I'm going to take some of the Magic Sculpt, put it into the hand wrists, and then probably what I do is use some baby powder on here, and then kind of push it on there and everything, and get it all straightened out, and it'll work, and it'll stay that way. The reason why I use the baby powder is that what is going to happen is it's going to use as like a buffer, so the Magic Sculpt doesn't start sticking to all this, and then this becomes messy. So let me try to see if we can get this going with the camera going and everything. Okay, so as you can kind of see, I worked out the holes with the baby powder and the Magic Sculpt. I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm going to have to let this dry and kind of keep playing with it until the point to see if this is actually going to work out. Just it's all playing by ear. Like I said, these pins are not the best options, and like I said, I don't know how far these go in to take it out and redo it. So it's kind of my only option. So let's see what happens in the next day, and once this is all set, if it stays up like I hope it does. Alright guys, so it's the next day, and it looks like this actually worked out better than I expected. I actually, when I was doing the Magic Sculpt in here and then pushing it into here, it wasn't lining up and it was kind of sagging down, and I was really worried that I was going to have to drill these out and redo the pegs, and it would have just became a nightmare. But, so what I did is I got it on there, I let it dry overnight, and I just figured let me see what happens the next day. So, if you go with this side first and then there, it actually stays in pretty well. So with the magnets and everything, it's good. But the problem is, it's kind of hard to see, but it's not lined up perfectly. And there is a gap here and here. So what I'm going to do is play it safe because, these metal rods, you don't know how far these things go down in here. So if you start drilling this out and then you nick it wrong, you can crack the whole thing. I mean, metal rod could go to right here, but then it could go all the way to the elbow. So you don't want to... you can't take a chance, and this is actually very poorly designed, basically, because you have this weird peg here, and it's not working. So, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to have to do some resculpting. So, what I have to do is I'm going to use some Magic Sculpt, or probably A's, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to put it over in here, and then I'm going to line it back up with this hand and sand down. So, this is going to all have to be kind of repainted a little bit, but there's nothing I can do about that. But once I do all that, he'll line up better and he'll hold. Now, you would say, like, oh, why don't you just sand this down and this metal rod down and then it will hit. The problem is, if I do that, it might not actually be hitting that. It just might, I don't really know, and I don't want to take a chance because right now it actually works. So when you put it on, he actually works. It's not falling and it's staying in pretty well. So it's just one of those things where play it safe, do some tweaking with some sculpting rather than trying to force it to be completely flush, because it's just at this rate it's not working. So what I'm going to have to do is just get some Magic Sculpt, probably get some A's or Magic Sculpt, work it with some baby powder, and start flushing this all out. So we'll get set up and I'll show you kind of how I do that, and then it's just a matter of sanding it, fine tuning it, and then touching a lot of it up. There's just no choice with the matter. It's just one of those older statues that poorly designed, and you just got to run with it the best you can. Okay guys, so what I did is I mixed up some A's and I put it around there. As you can see, it's kind of the thickness going down. So if I was to actually push this onto here and pull it back, the A's is actually going to stick to this. And that actually makes your life a living hell to try to do it. But you want it to stick to this hand, but you don't want to stick to there. So what I do is, we go down here, get some baby powder. I get this baby powder stuff. This is like the hospital stuff. I ordered like a big batch. It was like $30 and I got like, I don't know, 50 of them, but this stuff's really good. It seems to work well. So you just take this and you just put it on there. And what this does is this acts as takes out the stickiness. It's still sticking to the hands, but it takes away the stickiness there. So then what we do is we go back up here, and then we goes this one first, then this one, and then you kind of push it down, and we pop it out, and it's not sticking. You know, it's but I hit there. So what you do is you just take a X-Acto blade. I know I got one here somewhere. It's just a matter of playing with it and getting it to where you want it. And then we go back. And then you can kind of use your hand around the edges with the baby powder. And what this helps just seal it up, the gap, gets it nice and flush. It's not actually perfect, so what I got to do is I got to kind of wet this up a little bit, add some more around the edges, but I got to do this in closer without the camera. But this gives you an idea of how you can get your, you know, if something's never flush and you're sculpting or working or customizing, whatever, this is just the way with baby powder and some of the Aves, you can get it to work. So it's just a matter of see how it kind of flattens it all out and it gets it all perfectly flush around there. So I just got to toy with it a little bit more, even it up, and we'll come back once it's all said and done. Okay guys, so we are back, and the hands are looking pretty good now compared to the way it was. So it goes in there, it stays, it's not flopping out. I just have to kind of touch up a little bit here and there, and then I have to touch it up with all the paint and everything, and we'll go over that a little bit down the line. But we have another problem with the statue, and this was something that I was explained to in an email, but I really didn't know until I got the statue, because you can't really tell until you see it. So the problem with the statue here is he wobbles, as you can see. The way they did the pegs was they put a peg here and they put a peg here, and I think that what they did is they just drilled in very high, you know, big drills wide, and it just doesn't let the peg sit. What they should have done is they should have just put a square peg in this heel here, and then a square here, and then when you put that in there, he would have just sat and been fine. So I'm going to see if at first I'm going to attempt, without ruining the statue, if it's better to just see if I can fill up with Magic Sculpt in this hole, and see if he goes in there and he doesn't move. If that works, then I'm just going to leave it as is. If I'm still finding a problem where maybe the pegs are at an angle and that's why he's wobbling, because when you put it in, it doesn't go straight, what I might have to do is see if I can remove this peg, remove that peg, and then actually drill in here and give him a square peg. But before I do that, I got to make sure that this resin, however this is casted, won't crack or break, or, you know, sometimes certain resins can actually start breaking and chipping on you, so I don't know. I got to play it all by ear. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do that off of camera, because it's just a matter of throwing some Magic Sculpt into the hole, putting the pegs in there, and making sure it sits without it sticking. So it's just one of those things just got to kind of work on and get done. So we'll be back once I figure out what's going on. Okay guys, we're pretty much on the last final steps. Right now what I did is I used some Tamiya Chrome Silver, and I painted up the patched areas just to kind of see what's going on. There's some little errors here and there I need to fill in and then resand. So what I'm going to do is use my Tamiya Gray Simple Putty, putty it up, let it dry a little bit, sand it down, and then I'm going to pretty much paint it all up. So we'll come back once it's pretty much all finished. I just wanted to focus on the repairs more than the paint up work, because the paint stuff is just a matter of matching everything and getting it back together. So we'll be back once he's all finished. Okay guys, we're all finished up. So I got all the touch-ups with the blues, I got the hands touched up, the sword's all repainted, and he is ready to go. So the best way to put this back on is you put this hand here, and then you put that one there, and it just slides on, and it connects easy like that. If you try to force this side on there, it doesn't work out, but that's just the way it's designed. But as you can see, he's all patched up now. We got a better flush with the hands, the sword's all repaired. I did a few, you know, touch-ups with here and there on the base, the body, and he's ready to go. So hopefully gives you guys an idea on, you know, how to patch up something that's a little bit confusing like this, and hopefully you like the way he came out. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with more videos.